area is being positioned for. Yeah, that industrial.
Can I ask a question? That road is not wide enough for all those semis.
Yes, yeah, let me finish Bob's and then we'll get right to you. Anyway, Bob, do you have a copy of this? Yeah. Okay, so is there anything on the permitted uses that you would disagree with or you have questions with? You see what's in the conditional use, or would you want to move some of those things that are already permitted into the conditional uses? Or that would require a conditional use permit? That was-
Okay.
I would just say if it'd be a threat to the community as far as air pollution or something like that, that it should be open to the public before the council
I
decides.
totally agree with that. I just, industrial processing, I guess I don't know what exactly that is, so.
Yeah, I don't have I think that was either taken from the old one or I had written up a definition. I don't know what it is off the top of my head. Basically though, with this type of conditional use, I see you, Mike, just a second though. If somebody wants to build something in the industrial zone, they come and apply for a permit. The city will have to ask them kind of about the scope of what they're doing and if it is something that is of a heavier industrial use or something that's more than, assembly or fabrication or, something like that, it would probably trigger the conditional use process. And in that process, the city's gonna ask them about those. How many trucks a day are you gonna have? How are you gonna control that? How many, what are you gonna do on the proper living ways? What about the noise and those other performance standards? And that would go through some of the things that the city looked at in that conditional use process, which includes a public hearing for people to be able to come and weigh in.
Susan, you had,
Well, Mike had something.
I think he answered my question.
Okay.
There's a public review process on a conditional use permit,
Yes,
so there would be input from the community.
correct.
Thank you.
so, I know there might be something, you just want to make sure there wasn't things that were permitted that they wouldn't have to come and review. There are certain things, that's why I was trying to get a clarification on what some of those are. And warehousing, of course, logistics, pretty simple. Susan?
Well, I just want to ask one thing. County Road 113, remember that was County Road 144? the
Yes.
Rock Road? Now, these semis and all these trucks that are going to be coming down, is that road wide enough for them? Because sometimes you come down that road, you can't get past these semis, and you can't get past these trucks.
Well, again, Susan, that's
And
a
the
county.
boundaries of these trucks, what is the normal boundary of these semis that are supposed to be on these roads? Are they designed for that kind of county road?
The county road, if there's an issue, it is a county road, and there's weight restrictions, there's all those things that.
What's the weight on those semis?
Normally 80,000 pounds.
How much?
80,000 is a semi.
80,000 pounds. Well, when they come down, the house will shake, but when the school bus goes by, it doesn't shake. And this dust in the air, now 2 people on 2 dirt bikes almost got cleaned at about 7 o'clock at night, coming around that corner, and those semis are that wide as the road, and two dirt bikes almost got cleaned.
Actually, I think I can
This is going to be a safety issue.
speak to that a little bit when dairies are annexed. We took a look at roads and stuff and met with the county engineers and also in talking with KEDA and stuff about their plans for that foreign trade zone. They know that the road will probably have to be addressed if that industrial park is going to develop into the way they want with, some foreign trade zone positioned businesses. They know that in order for that to happen, they're gonna have to look at that road.
Yeah.
It may not have to be paved, it may not have to be 10 ton, but they know that that's an issue for them.
Yeah, I've seen several, I can tell you, I've seen several proposed developments in the industrial park, and with them there were requirements for the upgrade of the road and such like you're talking about. Those things probably just won't happen until the projects are initiated, and then at that time, that's under the county control, and I'm sure it would happen.
You know, and the city can, in that conditional use, ask for a traffic, study or something, if it, again, asking about those impacts, but, yeah, you're right, they know that that's probably gonna have to be the next one.
Well, basically, that concludes what we were talking about here in all the ordinances. As you can see, there are some changes, but basically minor changes to some of the existing county ordinances that we had, some of the old ordinances that we replaced for a short time, and basically disappeared, and they were only good for a year. So that's really what we're talking about right here now. And so, you got a question, John?
No, I don't have a question. I just want to thank the council, committee, Mayor, Carol, for all their hard work. I know this is a tough job. And, well, I speak in favor of the proposed ordinance. Hope we pass it as soon as possible.
John, was it as tough as you placing in a junction on our family to stop the water where we live upstairs for 2 hours, and you use the city money to pay us out of our money for it, and you lost? Is that how it was, John?
I don't think that has any place here right now. Right now,
That's exactly.
Kara?
Excuse me, some of us are confused as to where the east boundary of Ranier is. And I see this line here, but it doesn't have a name on it.
Was it stuff you
So
send money to buy still to break
I
water?
should know this.
The eastbound, it runs along Johnny Vita and Nancy McCart's property, Tara. And it goes, kind of cuts into, if you look at that map, it's in the office over that file cabinet. It kind of cuts along north-south along Johnny Vita and Nancy
Okay,
McCart's.
how about north to the lake?
North to the lake, yes.
John Vita is in Ranier.
Yeah, and it cuts right between he and Nancy
How about the
McCart's
city
property.
beach and
Ronnie
contact?
Peters knows the pit there, and that's the line.
Well, John Vita, who lives on the east side of the pit, is in Ranier.
Yeah.
Nancy McCarty.
Yeah.
That's the line.
And the yellow house, yellow house.
I have one question.
Yeah, we got several. Okay, we'll take them. All right, Mary Ann.
Mary Ann Cassick, Ranier. I just want to know if, you had a really lovely map here the last time, and I was wondering if you would consider bringing that back, that great big one that was,
That, we have one, but it's
Okay.
not the updated one.
would it be possible to get like a really nice, concise, large map that we can see really well? So that all these questions we can see on
Yeah, and in fact, today I got some new aerial imagery that is
Oh, awesome.
updated and you really see things much better, so.
okay, thank you.
Just the names of the streets.
The meeting's over, bro.
Yeah, and they do have them, some of them, just, it gets cluttered sometimes, so. But,
Yeah, Jeff. Go ahead then, Jeff.
Jeff McCart, I just
Yep.
had some questions I posed to Cheryl yesterday after reading through all the document. And one was about the position. I'm still unclear if the council or anybody has done a cost analysis on whether this will be a volunteer or a paid position, and if it is a paid position, what that pay will be. And then there's limited office space here. Will that, because from what I understand, administration will be the land use administrator to keep the files. That means computer will be needed, probably a cell phone, probably mileage to do inspections. Will this be reimbursed? And as the council thought about what the cost will be for this person to do his job, his or her job? And then it also mentions about the attorney, and I don't know if Ranier has a current city attorney or if we have one retainer. And if that would be an extra cost. That was one of the questions I had for the administration. And there was another one about fines, and it seems like we can fine pretty easily with the new zoning ordinances and tack on more fees if you don't pay the fines. And I'm just wondering how that affects people on fixed incomes or the retirees or the poverty level and below that are really a lot of people here in Ranier. And if that even needs to be addressed on a case-by-case basis or not. And then there was a part about the inspection, that the land use administrator has the right to inspect property with 4 days written notice. I don't think 4 days is enough time to prepare on your property and/or, your schedule for an inspection. And would the inspections be routine, or would they be, Cheryl, do you have that you can share with the council?
Yeah, and I gave it to
Okay.
everyone, and I'm not sure that everyone got a chance to
Okay.
think about it, but yes, every single
Okay.
councilman's got that,
And
Jeff.
then another conditional use, I don't know, there's a thing in there about adult entertainment. I think it just encourages someone to come up with the idea to have adult entertainment in Ranier, and I think we just leave that out and don't even zone it, and just say, hey, if someone comes in and wants to put up a porno shop or something down the road, that they would approach the council and you make that decision at that time, rather than putting it in the document and sort of saying, hey, I'm giving someone the idea to put adult entertainment in Ranier.
Can I address that last point? Because this is, generally how that will happen in the community is that someone will come in and apply for a zoning permit, and they will say, I'm gonna open a restaurant with live entertainment. Or they'll come in and say, I'm gonna open a retail store that sells books and gift items. And then you give them a permit to build it, and then it opens up and it's a dirty bookstore or a strip club. And once that permit has been applied for, or especially once it's been issued, you can't go back on those types of uses because, those are considered First Amendment uses, and they've been, those types of zoning cases that have really been gone through the courts, and there's established case law and state law. And so, establishing where those types of uses can go ahead of time is something that I would recommend. And the standards that are in there are what the state kind of says are your basic standards. The other thing is, you could make it a conditional use in the industrial park, or you could make it a conditional use somewhere else. But once, and there are companies and lawyers who make a career out of going to towns and doing that permit thing. So I think it is important to think about that one ahead of time,
Okay.
whatever you decide to do.
I think you gotta have enough language in there to take care of those issues,
I think Mr. Paulette raised that question, whether we have enough, be some possible legal ramifications of certain ordinances if they're challenged in court and everything else. But being a member of the League of Minnesota Cities, we are covered under that aspect where we'd be defended. And so if that's a worry about whether we could afford an attorney, we already have one.
Okay.
For those type of issues, they're not going to come on every time we need a building permit issued or not, but certainly if somebody has a challenge and a threat of lawsuit, we are covered on that. We are represented on that.
And we did, back when I first started, all of this that Josh has worked on has gone through some attorneys that have worked on a bunch of other stuff that are absolutely forgotten, that's why I'm saying that. But they did review all of it, and all of the legal guidelines are in all of this.
Yeah, I think it was half they're one of the better land use
Okay.
attorneys. And,
I think
I would say that, lawsuits from standard land use stuff are relatively uncommon. I've seen some where you get in trouble where you don't follow either your comprehensive plan or your zoning ordinance. And that's where you react to something and try to make a change or something. But this ordinance has been reviewed by on other, I mean, there's really based on other established ordinances, obviously tailored to this community. And, and I think that it's a solid and defensible ordinance.
Well, I think in summarizing this is I don't know how much consideration was given when we had the annexation. Obviously, I wasn't part of the annexation. I was one being annexed. So I don't know how much consideration was given to knowing that you're going to have to adopt some ordinances, or you're going to have to install some kind of rules to operate by. And I think we, the committee did a really good job as far as pointing out the changes, trying to define them. There are, as you can see, there's very few, as far as I can see. Good points were made, on specific items, and those can be addressed. And I really think there's a good understanding of what we just talked about. Now, if there's already other questions out there, we're trying to answer, and that's the purpose of these meetings. I think with that, the council and you guys can go back and come up with any more questions, and we'll be considering this and probably at our next council meeting. And at that time, so if you got any more thoughts on it, bring it to the council, and we'll still address them. As far as if there's any misunderstandings or recommendations, how they could be improved or altered. Appreciate it.
Can it be explained what the next step is? Because isn't it that we put this together now from the stuff we've talked about, and then we have to have a hearing to vote on it? Isn't that what that is?
Yeah, and then there's also once you get a final document, you have to give the abutting city, is it 60 days, 40 days? There's some certain notice period you have to give International Falls for them to review it and provide comment also, right?
I'm not sure if that applies, I'll have to double check. I'm not sure if that applies to just a zoning ordinance, or if that stems from the old community-based planning thing where they're trying to get cities to work together, so they're asking to review each other's comprehensive plans.
Oh, okay.
But I'll double check on that, but I believe it's just the city can adopt the
I think
ordinance.
we'll just adopt it ourselves.
Well, it's not just written, but you're supposed to give them some grace period or whatever to be able to review it.
Well,
I don't think they can change what,
No,
but they are supposed to be able to
No.
review it for.
yeah, so we'll have to double check that
Okay.
applies to zoning.
Okay.
well, obviously, some of the things that we do act on these things, and how we act will affect it. The foreign trade zone, which the city is part of, the county is part of, that does lie in our jurisdiction. So some of these rules that we're proposing, we'll have some say in, and I'm thankful for that, because they're always trying to find customers and businesses to go in there. I'd like to have to say if they do get a customer, who he is and what he does. And so that's the purpose of some of this stuff. And Jeff, this idea, I seen these now. This first I seen them, so I got to look at them, study them. These are good questions. I mean, considerations for anything. So anybody else that has anything, questions that pop up in their mind or they think of, they can submit them to Cheryl or bring them up to us, whatever, anyway, get to us, so we'll, consider them and see what they are, and we'll take some action on this. And I don't know what the process is now. Where's the next meeting? Do we have to have any more hearings or considerations? Or?
You have to have a public hearing whenever you pass it.
We'll put it together now, and then we have to have a public hearing when we pass it, or to final input.
And notifications and everything else will be, we'll get some things in the paper. Okay?
So,
Phil?
Clarify that.
Yes, sir.
Based on agreement, is there gonna be, on some time frame, a document that's gonna be, okay, this is our proposal, then you'll have to have a hearing, a reading, or whatever you call it, and a certain time frame will pass, allowing, challenges, I suppose, based on something, maybe just appears in there, somebody wasn't aware of. And then a date would be set where a meeting where it would be voted on.
I would assume, Phil, I do not know that, I guess I'd have to defer to Josh on that. Now, what is the next, that's what I'm saying, what is the next process? We actually we publish a formal document, and this is what we're voting on, or?
Yeah, what I would do is, I made some tweaks here based on what I heard last time, and there's some things that we want to address tonight, from what we heard tonight. I don't think major things for tonight, but I would put together what I'd call a city council review draft. Probably get that to Cheryl so she can get that out to the city council and post it online next week. And then we would have to move to a public hearing, which requires, a 10-day notice in the paper. So I would think probably have that document available for 2 weeks for review, and then we come back to the public hearing. We could give a short presentation, just talk about what it is, and then take the comments and stuff, and then at that here, at that point, it's up to the council. With a public hearing, you can make the vote that night, or you can adjourn it and say we're gonna take this up at our next meeting.